I've been making jewellery for many years, for over 15 years now. And today I'm going to reveal my top production secrets, including the secret hacks that have changed everything about the way I work and have made kind of my production process much more run much more smoothly. So this is our second video in the design challenge that we're running, and in this video it is all about production and getting started with making the designs that you've decided to that you want to create in the first week of the challenge. So let's get cracking. Now, as I said, I am a jeweller. I have a certain way that I go about producing the pieces, and so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk through the processes and the steps that I take as a jeweller. Now, everyone's production workflow is slightly different, but this is how I go about it. All disciplines are going to be slightly different, but I'm sure there will be something that you'll be able to take away and make use of in your own workspace and in your own discipline as well. So the first step that I like to do in the production stage is really planning out the piece that I'm going to make. So we've got the designs, and the planning process is everything from the dimensions, what materials I'm going to need. And so this is key to making sure that you have everything ready. And in the first week of the challenge, this was one of the first steps that I encourage you to do. And it might be that as you start going through your production process, that your designs might slightly change, and that's totally fine and totally normal. And it's especially true when it's the first version of design that you're ever making, if it's a prototype or something completely new, because as you work through it, you realise that something is going to work slightly differently or in a better way. So although I plan a piece out and I set aside how exactly I'm going to make it and how it's all going to come together, I'm not too rigid with it, especially if it's a bespoke piece or if it's the first of a particular design, because I also like to design as I'm making as well. So my designs often evolve as I'm making a piece, especially for the first time, and they might change slightly. So that's the first step that I go through. It's really planning how it's all going to come together, and you will hopefully have done that at the end of the first week of this challenge. And I write down all those little steps, and sometimes the hardest part once you've done that is actually getting started, actually cutting a piece of metal or deciding what materials you're going to use for a piece. So getting started, actually getting your hands dirty, can be really difficult. And if you break the process of production into lots of smaller chunks, it's much easier to get started with them, and it's much easier to take that first step into making your piece. Now, another way to get over the procrastination of actually getting started is, as well as breaking the process down into all those small chunks and to actually start getting moving, is to set yourself a timer. I have a timing block, which I've got here, and I can set it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And I have it on my workbench. You could use a phone timer as well, but I quite like the tactile nature of this block, and you just flip it to the side that you want, and after 20 minutes or whatever, it beeps to tell you that's it, you're done. So I might set it for 20 minutes or half an hour just to get started and just to get focus and into that flow, because sometimes it can be just focusing for 15 minutes, for 10 minutes will really get you to that flow started, and that's what you want. But other times I can do very little in that first hour, and I may have to set another half an hour. But once you get started, it's quite easy just to then do another half an hour, do another hour, and you just keep going without needing a timing block anymore. But it's a really useful tool to just get over that initial procrastination. So that's the timing block that I use. I will put a link. It's like a kitchen timer. I'll put a link to similar ones that you can get off Amazon really cheaply in the description below. Using these timing blocks is a great way to get into the right mindset as well for production and for making your piece. Getting into the right frame of mind and that right mindset as a maker is crucial. And it doesn't come necessarily easily. It's not always there when you sit down to make something or to create something. So allow yourself enough time to really get settled in and really get into the piece and into that production of your work that you want to do. And again, this is why I like to break it down into lots of small steps, because I don't necessarily have the time or focus to be able to dedicate a whole day. It's generally focus that I don't have, that I struggle with, rather than the time so much. But breaking it down into small steps means that you only need to focus on that first small step at a time. So one of the small chunks at a time, which makes the whole process move more smoothly. And eventually you can kind of build up longer chunks of time as well. But it helps you to stay focused and it helps you to stay fresh as well. For me, I find it quite tricky to start work as soon as I sit down at my workbench. So I'm filming this at my workbench today because we're talking all about production. And I think you need to allow yourself the time to settle into being creative, to settle into that production phase, and give yourself time to sit down, organise your materials, your tools that you're going to use. There can be a lot of faffing as you build up to being in that creative flow mindset. So what I would say is, with the production side, to give yourself plenty of time. It always takes me so much longer than I think it's going to take, especially when it's a new piece, especially when it's something that I haven't done before, or if it's a bespoke piece, or if I'm using expensive materials. I want to make sure that each cut is precise, each piece that I'm working on is going to be the best it can be. I find it also helps to listen to music as well, or to work to a playlist. I use something called Brain FM. Again, I'll put a link to that below. And it can really help you get into the right frame of mind. When I'm actually making a piece, I tend not to have headphones in because I like to hear the sound of metal being worked. I like to hear the sound of the flame of the torch if I'm soldering something. And if something pings off somewhere, which does happen, diamonds, gemstones, they do occasionally ping off, I like to hear where they may have landed. And if I've got headphones on, I haven't got a clue where it might have gone. So it depends on your discipline whether you can listen to music or other sounds or other kind of mood music as you're working. But it can be really useful to keep you focused for a period of time. It's particularly useful when I'm designing. I know we're talking about production in this video, but it is incredibly useful to be able to zone into the task at hand, which, when you're designing, is really useful to have music playing. When you're making a first of a kind piece, which is what we're doing in this challenge, you're making a new piece, you're testing yourself with your skills and your designs. You may need to master or practice a particular skill to be able to continue with the piece that you've designed. And so quite often in this first production stage, you might be making samples or practicing several variations on a particular style until you're completely happy to move forward. So again, make sure you allow enough time for this. In our challenge, we have 2 weeks for the production stage, so that you can practice any skills that you maybe need to just hone in on, and so that you have the time to be able to push yourself in your skills as well as the design side as well. Another hack, and I think this is probably my most useful hack. It's not a hack, it's just a tip. And it helps hugely with the productivity, is to have a bench journal or a bench diary, a notebook or something like that. And every time that I'm at my bench, so this is one of mine, every time I'm at my bench, I will put in the date and what I'm working on. And here I will write down any notes on the piece or any notes on the work that I'm doing that particular day. So it's not necessarily on the whole finished piece. It could just be on the process that I'm doing that day. If a particular measurement needs to be changed, if I want to cut something in a slightly different way, it's just a really fantastic way of recording all those little steps that you take along the production stage, so that when you come to make the piece again, you have your notes to hand. So when you're practicing a new technique, it just speeds up the process in the future. And because you can write down all those notes of how you've refined the technique or how you've refined the piece as you're going along. So you don't have to try and remember every time. So this is my number one tip when you're in the production stage, is to have a bench journal of some kind. I've got loads of these, they're all numbered and dated. And so I can refer back to them when I want to. Even if it's years ago, I'll have a rough idea of when I made a similar piece, and I can refer back to my notes from them and see if there were any tweaks or tips that I wanted to as I homed the piece in. As you're starting to put your design together and as you're working through the processes and the production stages of your piece, then make sure you're recording it in some way as well. Have a camera, whether that's your phone or another camera, set up on in your workspace area, whether it's workbench, desk, studio, whatever it is, so that you have it to hand, so you can record the processes and take photographs, and if you can, take films as well. I'll do another post shortly on recommendations for different tripods and cameras that I use that really help ensure that you're recording your process. It's really great material for marketing, for social media, for blog posts, and also to be able to show a client if it's a bespoke piece, then they'll have seen the design and they'll have seen the end piece, but it's a really nice touch to also be able to provide them with photos of the process of it being made. People have come to you because you're an artist, you're a handmade artist, a creative, a maker, and they want something that's been made by your hands. And so if you can show them the steps that you've gone through and really start telling the story of the piece coming together, they're going to be singing your praises and be really invested in that work and that piece and the process, and hopefully tell other people and spread great word of mouth. Some of the pieces that I make, especially bespoke pieces, can take about 8 to 10 weeks. And so it's also a really good way to be able to keep in touch with customers as well and clients. So you can update them with pictures of what stage of the process you're at, and to keep them informed so they're not panicking at any stage as well. If I have a particularly high value bespoke piece, then I also put these photographs into a little printed book. I use Blurb Books, which I think they're based in the Netherlands, but there's lots of other small book publishing companies out there, photo books that you can just put a collection of images. If it's a high value piece, I don't do it for all clients, but just for the ones that are kind of the bigger spenders. So it's a memento of the photographs, which is a really lovely thing to do as well. So do try and remember to take photographs often. Sometimes we forget. I often forget to take images, footage, films as I'm making a piece, and I'll get to the end of it and think, oh, I haven't taken any photos of this, and it's so frustrating. What I have found more useful is to actually film the process. So sometimes it can be really lengthy films, but you can cut smaller chunks out of that, and that means I'm not having to stop and take photos every few minutes. I can just set it to record, and I set my phone over my workbench to record, and then then I'll have footage of what I've been up to. As you get near the end of the piece, you're doing those, you have all those finishing touches and checking quality checks to make sure it's exactly how you want it to be. And if it's not, there's no shame in starting again. There's no shame if you can recycle the materials and start again, start over. Don't continue with something that you're not happy with. Always step back and start again. Take a step back and look at where you want to change something or do it differently. And again, that's where your bench journal comes in. And it's all part of learning from where something hasn't worked the way you wanted it to. It's all part of growing your technical skills and growing your design skills as well, especially when it's a new piece and you haven't made it before. You might want to break it down and do it completely differently. You might want to do something differently and change elements of your design. And so just be aware of this as you're going through the production stage. If you're not happy with it, take a step back. Our challenge is obviously only over 4 weeks, but give yourself time to change things up if you want to. If you need to practice a particular skill a bit more, then take time to do that. Don't rush ahead if you're not happy with what you're making. So in the 3rd week of our design challenge, I'll be talking more about the steps for finishing, the quality checks. For instance, in jewellery, it's the hallmarking process, it's polishing, it's that kind of thing. So I'll be talking about more of that in the next video, in the next week of the challenge. But for now, I wanted to give you some tips and strategies that I use in my production process of how a piece comes together. So to recap, a timing cue just to get in the zone, get focused, be able to start working. My bench journals so that I can make notes as I'm going along and refer back to them when I need to, which is really important. And also record your work as well. So I have various tripods and stands around my desk. There's others hidden. And so I can just attach a camera or my phone and record the work and the steps as I'm going through. So I hope that's been useful. Do let me know in the comments below how you're getting on with the challenge. You can refer back to the first week in this video here, and I will see you in the next week of the challenge. Take care. Bye for now.